Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Steven Brown, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the Maple Leafs' 2015 draft. Now, I know it's easy to look back in hindsight because we have a lot more information about these players than what management had then, but this was the first draft that Kyle Dubas really headlined with Mark Hunter before Lou Lamoriello came into the conversation. Their first pick in the draft in the first round, 4th overall, was Mitch Martin. And I mean, I won't really say too much because I don't really need to. They were discussing possibly drafting Dylan Strome if he was available, or even trading back to take a defenseman in Ivan Provorov or Zach Werenski, but I think we made the right choice in Mitch Martin because he is 3rd overall in points for the draft class, and there really can't be much of an argument made for anyone picked behind him. Now, the Maple Leafs did own a second selection in the first round of this draft, but they decided to trade back a couple of times and ended up settling on Travis Dermott at number 34 overall. They passed on Travis Konechny at number 24 and then Gabriel Clausen at number 29, but Travis Dermott, I'd say, is the better pick of those 3 players and is definitely in a position right now where it's a show me what you got kind of year. He's going to be injured to start the year, but I think we can expect big things from Travis Dermott this year as he makes his push to prove that he's a top 4 defenseman in this league. Next up was Jeremy Braco at the very end of the second round at 61st overall. Jeremy Braco was an impressive and intriguing pick at the time as he did break Patrick Kane's assist record in the U.S. National Development Program. He was 21 years old through the majority of last season and finished 2nd in AHL scoring and racked up 79 points last year. And you might be saying to yourself, well, that's great. Why aren't you higher on him? Well, 39 of those 79 points did come on the power play, and that stat was incredibly hard to find. So click the like button for that one, definitely. It took me like 20 minutes to find that because the AHL is very secretive about their stats. And when you're evaluating prospects, you really want to see the majority of their production, especially at the AHL level, come at even strength. And with the Maple Leafs having a lot of depth on the wings, it's going to be very hard for him to make an impact in the role that he would need to be playing in. Looking back, there was almost one name that I completely skipped over, and I realized it after I finished editing the video, and that was Andrew Nielsen, selected in the 3rd round, 65th overall. Now, Nielsen was a big defenseman known for putting up points, and he did do that in his first couple of seasons in the AHL, but then he really started to stray away from his game and take a lot of penalties and a lot of fighting majors, and the Maple Leafs kind of just said enough's enough, and they ended up trading him earlier this past season to the Calgary Flames for Morgan Klimchuk, a former first-round pick, who then they dealt to Ottawa for Gabriel Gagne, who had an okay season with the Marlies, but is nothing really too special. Martins de Circles was next up on this list at number 68 overall, and I mean, he did put up some okay numbers with the Growlers a couple of years ago of the ECHL, but after a contract dispute, he ended up leaving for Russia. Moving right along, Bert Lindgren at number 95 overall is the next selection that the Maple Leafs made in the 2015 NHL draft. He's a Swedish right-handed shooting defenseman, and he played a couple of games for the Marlies last year in the playoffs, but he had a decent little season over in the Finnish league. The Maple Leafs do have him signed to an ELC, but in terms of other players being available around the time that he was drafted, Dennis Malgin is an okay player for the Florida Panthers, but there's not really much to lament over here. Now, this next pick was one that I was really excited about at the time when they made it, and I still kind of am. Dmytro Timashov at 125th overall in the 5th round. This was a guy that put up all kinds of points in the Quebec Major Junior League in his draft year and the season after that. In 85 AHL games this past year, he put up 59 points. That's including the playoffs. But Timashov kind of finds himself in the same kind of spot that Braco's in. There's not really much room on the wing, so it looks like he's going to have to wait for his turn. Some other interesting names that were picked in and around the same time that Timashov was Rudolph Balcers, Kirill Kaprizov, Dominic Simon, and Troy Terry. In the 6th round, the Maple Leafs went out and selected a big defenseman from the Memorial Cup winning Oshawa Generals in Steven Desrochers. And if you've never heard of him before, it's because he's playing university hockey and is 23 years old. But I mean, hey, if he's going back to school to get a degree and play hockey at the same time, I can't really fault him for it. And with their final pick in the 2015 draft, the Maple Leafs selected Nikita Khoroslov in the 7th round. Khoroslov was an interesting name because he did put up decent point totals in the OHL, but ultimately he wasn't too great of a skater, and it showed as he tried to move up the ranks. I'm pretty sure the Maple Leafs never ended up offering him a contract, and he ended up re-entering the draft and not getting selected. I believe he played some games for Columbus's AHL team last year, and I think this season he went back to the KHL. But I mean, no harm, no foul. As you get that late into the draft, it's really just a crapshoot. Every once in a while, there are draft steals that come in those rounds. But I mean, if the teams that selected those players really thought that those players were going to be as good as they turned out to, they wouldn't have let other teams have an opportunity to draft them multiple times over and over again. They would have taken them much earlier on in the draft. So that's going to be it for this video. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, as always, take care.